Okay, so before jumping on to the demo of skin texturing, let's talk a bit about why I'm painting those yellow, red or gray areas and what's happening inside the skin and why do we do that. So here we have our Texturing XYZ reference that I projected from one of their maps onto our 3D model. So the most basic thing that we can see in our skin is a peach reddish tone that also depends from race to race. But the first thing to get right is this tone. If you can make it look not too red or not too yellowish, about half the work has already been done for you. So the first thing to keep in mind is to set your base tone value for your skin. After that, you might have seen references like these. So this is the first introduction, I guess, to many people with hand painting skin, like people describing areas as yellow, red and blue, the forehead being yellow, bottom being red and the most bottom being a bit blue. It's not incorrect, but it's not the best way to showcase this as well. So instead of just being a 3 simple zones, skin can be broken down into more stuff. So if you can ignore the sloppy hand drawn lines, this is what I try to see when I hand paint my things. The yellow areas, the red areas and the blue. So you might have seen many people describe this as well, and you might have seen more references that have these areas broken down. And you can yourself notice that on some faces. They're more pronounced and obvious on brighter skin tones, but they're also present in the darker ones as well. So what's up with these guys? So the yellow area or the golden color usually comes across when the skin is in direct contact with the bone, or it's the closest one. So that will be our forehead, some of the bones here, the jaw, and sometimes around the nose where the nasal bone will be. The red belongs to where there's a lot of blood pressure. So this often happens around the ear. This is a bad projection, but around the nose, around the forehead, and around your cheeks. So you might notice sometimes some people get their cheeks a bit reddish when they become shy or angry. That being said, there's a lot of blood pressure around their face, and most of the blood is usually concentrated around those areas. Then we have the blue area. So I was doing blue a lot of times, but I was not sure why the blue actually exists. So one person actually showed me why we do the blue. So blue, if you inverse this guy right here, just invert that in Photoshop, this is the map that you get. And that kinda also explains why many people were fascinated by, not fascinated, but they were using specular map and having blue tint on it. Some people still do that. I kinda try to sway away from it, but this is what many movies and many actual feature films were doing, using a blue specular map. But what's happening is the inverse of your skin color is a bit bluish. So everywhere where your skin is pretty thin, for example your eyelids. So if you move your eyelids away from your eyeball, they are pretty thin. Same for your ears. Some of the parts in the area are pretty thin. Around the lips as well sometimes. And all of those areas that are pretty thin showcase a bit purple or bluish area. One more thing with that blue tone that happens is around the eyelids, if somebody is pretty tired or hasn't slept properly, they get a bit darker tone of blue, making their face look a bit desaturated around their eyelids. That's what we call as dark circles. So while doing this practically with yellow and red, I like to paint red and yellow as well. I don't do them that opaque as maybe something like this. I like to keep them a bit slight compared to each other. Like you can see there's a yellow highlight, then there's red, then there's a bit more yellowish, then there's red giving us a peach form, and some of the areas on this face are a bit desaturated as well. So I usually like to paint a bit grayish in those areas and like to keep that gray really slight opacity to get a bit desaturation instead of using a desaturation layer as a filter, which just gives you a gray value instead of a peach one. But with painting blue, I don't like to paint actual blue. What I do is I paint in gray and I like to decrease the opacity slight bit, which gives me a look that it's a bit blue, but that works better than actually painting in blue. So instead of that, I paint in gray and decrease the opacity. Another thing that is a bit specific to male is having a stubble or a beard gives you a little bit of a green tone. So you can see around his stubble area and a little bit purple bluish. We still count that as we are going to still count that as a blue one, but more blended with the red. So you have yellow, reds, bluish, greenish. That's specific to stubbles, or if he has hair on his head. Another thing that we have is around this caruncular area, the thing gets a bit too pinkish, which I forgot to do in the next video you're going to see, but I'm going to change that. And that pink kind of follows your eyelid as well, just a slight bit, but it's more intense here. And you can see the yellow and red and blue areas in this zoom in again. So this is how the skin has been broken down, and this is what I like to break down when texturing my skin. There are a lot of things going on. Some of those are pretty scientific, like why this happens, why this is not happening. I'm going to link you guys to some of the videos I watched when I was starting out, and they were pretty helpful to me to figure out what's going on in the skin and break it down further. On top of that, I have few references for you guys. So these are some of the good examples I would like to show you guys how hand painting should be done. So here are a few of the guys I really admire, and they do a pretty good job at what they do. So if we try to break down what he has done here, if I showcase the face, we can spot those areas again. So we have yellow tone, we have red around the nose, which is pretty obvious. We have red around here, we have a bit yellow around the cheeks, red here, a bit purple reddish around the eyelids, and a bit bluish around the eyelid, which is the closest to the eye. Down below we cannot see much, but let's open more examples that I have. So more of his work. So we have red peachish, we have yellow areas, then we have our lips, and if you see the eyelids, the eyebrows has been painted, but there's a bit of green blur that follows it. The same thing that we notice around the stubble. Here's one more. So this one also has a female one, and sometimes for female character, I kinda like to keep my hand painting a bit pale, giving the skin a bit more feminine look. But sometimes pale can also go a bit to the zombified or vampired version of skin, so try to keep that in mind while you texture skin for females. But you can still see those areas: red, yellow, a bit greenish or purple around the stubble, greenish around the eyebrow, yellowish, reddish, yellowish, reddish, and so on. She does have a bit of makeup which changes her general outlook. Here are more examples. So Krish Costa does a pretty awesome job at hand painting it, and I don't think I'm in that level to ever get close to this one right now. So it's going to take a lot of work to get something like this. But this is something I would say, if hand painting is being done, this is the right way to do it. Apart from that, we have one more guy. We have two more guys. So these ones are one of my favorite artwork recently. So this is not a CG thing. This is a real life sculpture made by these guys. That makes things a lot harder for these guys to do. But the skin tone here has been done pretty well, but you can still spot the same thing we discussed. Red areas, red, yellowish, a bit greenish and a bit bluish, a bit greenish around the stubble, and red around the ears again. Then we have Frank Seng. So the Uncharted characters were done pretty well in terms of hand painting and how it was done. They are hand painted as far as I know. If not, I feel the texture work could have been projected better, but I'm pretty confident they are hand painted. So with these ones, we can still notice the same thing we discussed just now. The yellow areas on the forehead, the red around the blood flow, a bit yellow painted here, then reddishness, with desaturation around the eyelids and a bit around the jaw. More examples for you guys. Nadlin has a dark skin tone, but we can still spot the same things. A bit yellowish tone, red brownish, because we have to make a darker skin. So people usually just take a brighter skin tone and darken it to get the best result, but that kind of feels a bit inaccurate. So the better way to do it is do the same thing you're doing for a fair skinned person, but take your red or take your yellow and move that to a bit brownish side of things. By that I mean move that to a bit brownish color tone. So we can see the same thing, yellowish, red brownish, desaturated eyelids, and then we have the lips. One thing you might notice when the skin tone gets darker and darker, so this happens from person to person. The upper lid generally in a fair skinned person is the same tone as the bottom one, but the darker the skin tone gets, the upper lid gets darker compared to the bottom lips. Even in a super fair person, that can be a thing. So keep that in mind instead of making both of the lips the same tone, unless somebody has a lipstick on. Alright, so that is how I like to break down skin when I look at my references. And also I'm going to link you guys to a video which is a bit more scientific, but it's a worth watch to figure out what's going on underneath and how to break it down. Alright, with that covered, let's move on to the demo of the skin.